Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us, whether you're on Zoom or watching via one of our live streams. My name is Amanda Borschel-Dan, and some of you may know me as the host of the Times of Israel's Daily Briefing and What Matters Now podcasts. I'm a journalist, but as an Israeli whose family and friends are reservists affected by this war, when I was asked by Ogen to help conduct this webinar, I happily volunteered because I want to learn more about this organization and how it aims to help my friends and family. This war, of course, started with the murderous Hamas onslaught on southern Israel on October 7th, 2023, and it's gone on for over 15 months. Today, we were reminded of that terrible reality with the confirmation of the death of Yusuf Zayadneh and great fears over the life of his son, Hamza. But we're here to discuss the financial realities faced by Israel's reservists and their families. And these are realities that are deeply personal and far reaching. We will also tonight hear the story of Sergeant Yuval Silber, who was a volunteer reservist who was killed in Gaza on November 1st, 2023. Tonight's webinar is dedicated to Yuval's memory, to the reservists and soldiers on the front lines, and to the tens of thousands of families facing these challenges at home. But while reserves are protecting the country on the front lines, their families are left to shoulder the burden back home. And this is where Ogen steps in, providing support. So before we learn more about Ogen and hear from our panel, including Yuval's good friend who established this microloan fund dedicated to his memory, let's take a moment to understand the bigger picture. So since October 7th, 2023, the IDF has mobilized approximately almost actually 300,000 reservists, including 45,000 who returned to duty voluntarily despite previously being exempt. These reservists are not just soldiers, there are teachers, engineers, small business owners, and parents. I have a friend who is on the border with Syria right now. He's 54 years old, a high-tech executive, and is right now happily serving as a driver. But he's the outlier because a significant 45% of reservists are in their 30s, and on average, they serve 4.5 months per year. That's an enormous commitment that disrupts, of course, both their professional and personal lives. And this unprecedented mobilization has rippled across Israel's workforce, economy, and families, leaving many struggling to stay afloat financially. So let's talk about Ogen. And if you haven't heard of Ogen, you're not alone. It's not the type of fund that advertises widely, and really it's known mostly by word of mouth. But since the war, the need has grown, and so the organization decided to hold this webinar today. It was founded 35 years ago by Professor Eliezer Jaffe, who has died. He was an American Jew who made Aliyah from the Midwest, like me. So he was a simple guy, but a visionary who believed in empowering people through community support and financial access. We have a quote from him on the screen right now: "Life is a loan that we must repay one day with interest, interest that we pay back by making the world a better place." And since 1999, with support from Jewish communities worldwide, Jaffe established what he called the Israel Free Loan Association. Today, it's known as Ogen, which is anchor in Hebrew. And it is Israel's leading social lender and has provided over 85,000 loans, totaling more than $550 million to families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations, many or most of whom would have been turned down by traditional banks. My cousin is one of these stories, and Ogen actually helped him get his apple cider business up and running. I didn't even know that Ogen was involved, and I have enjoyed his cider for many years. At its heart, Ogen's mission is really simple: to support Israelis in need by offering access to capital and financial education. So, of course, in light of the war caused by Hamas, in recent months, Ogen has prioritized helping reservists and their families through initiatives like the Yuval Loan Fund to ensure that they are not left behind at this time of national crisis. So, to help us understand the reality on the ground, we're going to first hear from Yoel Copeland, who is a senior leader at Ogen with 20 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. He's also an active reserve commander, a father of five, including three reservists, and the head of Ogen's Families and Individuals division. So, Yoel, as someone who wears many hats, commander, father, social leader, you've seen the challenges that reservists face up close. And as one who was even, I believe, in reserve duty this week, can you share the struggles that they're navigating, especially as the war continues to impact their lives?
Well, thank you, Amanda. Yes, I actually served since 7th of October continuously until the beginning of April 24th, around 7 months. My kids served even more, each in a different unit. Meeting the reservist soldiers every day, each one with his financial and personal issues. If it's a small business owner who left his business behind, finding that the war reduced demands and most of the expenses of the business still need to be paid. In a wider range, I would say families that were, like you said, left at home and have to live with the worries to the husband, to the son, to the daughter, wife, whoever's in the war, whoever's out there, to take care of the household, meaning taking more days off work, working less hours, decreasing the income, and of course, the expenses are even higher. Add the fact that just this month, the government has increased taxes to all of us, and the consequence of these is growing debts, emotional stress, and lots of struggling every day to manage themselves. So we actually find a lot of families who need the simple help of reaching out and giving them something that they can work with.
And
Um,
that's where Ogun steps in because it is, as I mentioned before, it is an anchor to these families. It helps them carry on, gives them the chance to, though it's an anchor, to float to the next month in terms of their finances and keep their businesses afloat. And the financial challenges facing the reservists are immense. And one reservist I know is a tour guide, for example. There are no tourists here in Israel, or very few. And so, since basically October 7th, he has volunteered in his unit with, I believe, 2 months off only, because, of course, he wants to serve the country, but he has no other income. There's so many stories like this. And one response to this need is the creation of the Yuval Loan Fund, which was established in the memory of Sergeant Yuval Silber. So Tomer Peled, who was Yuval's childhood friend, best friend even, initiated the creation of this fund. Tomer, you knew Yuval since his childhood, since your shared childhood. Why don't you tell us about him as a person, first of all?
Sure. Hi. It's always an honor to speak about Yuval and the Yuval Fund. And Yuval has been my best friend since we were 9 years old. And for as long as I can remember, we've been together in basically every way that we could be. We're in the same class in primary and high school. We were in the scouts together. We volunteered together. We've been very inseparable. Um, And even now, after everything that's happened, I still get mistakenly called by his name by like few mutual friends and people that are close to us. So we've known each other since we were kids, and we finally went our separate ways when we went into the army. I went into a support role in the north. I've actually been a reservist myself since the 7th of October, and Yuval was a combat unit officer. He was actually a captain in the military. I finished my military service before him, and I started studying in the university. And he went on a big trip, like many Israelis do after their army service. And we actually met in Thailand. I was with my girlfriend, and he was with his, and we had an amazing week together. And it was almost like a double date honeymoon. And this was the week before October 7th. So when the horrible events of October 7th happened, I just returned to Israel 12 hours before. And on the same day, I was already in my base doing my reservist role while Yuval was still in Thailand. He was really determined to return home. He had an immense love for his country, and you could hear the pain in his voice when he spoke about coming home. So in between the 24-hour shifts that everyone would do, I would call airlines to make sure that he could come home and trying to help him find a way back. He did arrive a few days later, and his last role was actually a instructional role. He wasn't like in an operational role, so he didn't have a direct reservist role as a combat officer. But he basically went to his reserve platoon and told the platoon commander, basically, I'm being included. I don't care like how or what way it is. I'm going in because that's what that's what is needed right now. And he told them we're a built reserve platoon. We have our officers already. I said already he was a captain, but he said okay, and he took off his ranks, his officer ranks from his shoulders, and he said, I'll go in as an ordinary soldier if that's what it takes." Um, he entered Gaza in the late stages of October on a mission to capture a post called Mutzaf Palestine. It's a site Hamas has used to train terrorists from a young age and a significant point of origin for the October 7th attacks. On November 1st, while the platoon, basically the whole brigade, was capturing the post, Yuval was stationed and at a point to secure the operation. Um, and in that moment, Hamas terrorists ambushed them from the tunnels. They ambushed Yuval's squad, and they got into a firefight where Yuval fought bravely, but he was shot and killed. Um,
Yuval is one of many, many reservists who came from abroad to join the fight. And of course, I'll remind our listeners that over 150% came to the reserved units, meaning so many more that were required to come. But it sounds as if he was utterly responsible in that he negated his ego. He took off his ranks and he said, listen, if I can't serve as a captain, I will serve as a simple soldier because I know this job too. I can do this too. And Tomer, when you were trying to find a way to preserve his legacy, because every single person needs to be remembered. Just as an aside, at the Times of Israel, we have a series called Those We Have Lost, and we're writing posts, articles about every single person who was killed on October 7th. We have over 1,000 written so far. And when you have a person like Yuval, you have to think, how am I going to preserve his legacy and show what a responsible and utterly giving person he was? So, what made you think of creating this reservist fund in his memory?
it's Yuval had a really rare and unique quality. He really inspired everyone around him and gave an amazing energy. He had like there was an energy to him that brought like happiness to everyone around him. Everyone who knew them recognized this, and everything he did exemplified it. And we decided to go to a fund because we searched for meaningful ways to commemorate him. And my family suggested donating it to a fund in his name, just simply like seeding a fund and starting it. We turned to Ogen because we know them for several years because of the COVID virus, where they were very meaningful. And after meeting with them, we decided going specifically for reservists who stepped up to help the country because what Yuval has given and what all of them have given. And our family seeded the fund with an initial donation and we plan to launch a crowdfunding campaign to raise 1 million shekels. We never anticipated how high the demand from reservists would be. In a short time, Ogen and us, we really needed to expand our resources to ensure that every reservist could receive the support they needed. It was basically just a way to find a meaningful and honorable way to create something that lasts because it's a revolving fund where every reservist repays their loan and it goes on to to the next one. And we wanted something of that special energy and Yuval's legacy to continue. That was basically it. We just wanted something that cherishes him and brings forward his personality.
So, Yoel, as the head of Ogen's Families Division, can you give us some indications what impact this fund has had so far?
I think we were, like Tomer said, we were overwhelmed with the demands. Um, our goal is to assist 1,000 families, and since May 24, when he actually opened the fund, we've reached over 540 families with loans totaling to $6.3 million. Now that's thanks to the incredible support from our brothers and sisters around the world. An amazing support. People really understand the need. Now, most of these requests come from reservists struggling with everyday expenses, like I said before, debts, issues, and regular expenses, of course, um, because people who have served more than 10, 12, 13 months have grown their debts to high levels. But our loans are structured to be manageable, meaning every average loan would be around $10,000 with a 5-year repayment term. Of course, free interest. And the demand is enormous. I mean, we have about 200 loan applications in process at any given time. So, and the demand only grows and grows up because people understand this is a life-changing loan that can help put people back on the course and try living a normal life in this crazy situation we are. And it's very, very meaningful for these families, and it's a game changer for them.
And when the loan is granted, Yoel, do they learn about Yuval and his legacy?
Of course, every first of all, the fund itself is called the the Yuval Fund loan. So people actually, when they have to give it an application, so they can see the whole, and we have the story on our website. It's very important for us to be in contact with the families uh, to amend them with the issue, with the story, with the meaningful uh, part of giving the loan from the idea of a person that we learned about after the 1st of November, because we didn't know him, unfortunately, before. But we learned about the everything Tom talked about, and I think it's a win-win situation where everybody understands the changing of the society in Israel because of this.
Tomer, can you tell me a little bit about how Yuval's family reacted when they heard about this idea?
We His sister and I actually we did most of the work with Ogen together. She was really active with it, but it was a joint effort. I mean, they were there every step of the way, and it's an honor to work with his sister and be there for her. And uh, that was just the way we did it together.
Excellent. So we have with us today one of the beneficiaries of the Yuval Loan Fund, and his name is Gil Huberman. Hi, Gil. Thanks for joining us.
Right.
Gil is a father of two. He works full time and has served for months as a combat reservist since the war began. First of all, Gil, tell us a little bit about you. What kind of reserve duty are you serving right now?
So, hi everyone, thank you. I'm a GI, General Infantry. On regular service, I was in the paratroopers. On reserves, I was assigned to a different division, still General Infantry. And on October 7th, I woke up just like everyone else. And a few hours later, even before you got the official message from the army that you need to come in, the text messages were going wild. And a few hours later, I was already on uniforms in the base, organizing my gear.
And obviously, you're a father of two, so you
Right.
had to leave your family. And how has this affected your wife? How is she handling this?
Um, I mean, it's not different from anyone else here in Israel, but it's it's hard. It's hard for my kids because I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my 5-year-old started asking my wife to come sit next to him when he goes to bed because he doesn't want to be alone in the room. Um, my wife she's a freelancer and she can't accept clients when I'm away. And unfortunately, the government still doesn't have a unique reimburse program specifically for spouses, significant others who are freelancers. So that adds another layer of difficulty. How does she handle it? Just like everyone else, she fights through it because we don't have any other choice.
Right. So I just want to emphasize what you were just saying right now, that of course you get paid while you're in reserve duty, but your wife had to give up on her livelihood in order to support the family and of course have some kind of continuity for your children. So that's a huge challenge. And obviously when you're, in uniform, that is something that's on your mind, wouldn't you say?
It's constantly on your mind. I remember that I kept checking and asking if there are any reimbursement plans for spouses, significant others, or freelancers, and till today, nothing that I'm aware of. And it's just, on one hand, it's hard. On the other hand, you try not to think about it because you need to be focused on the mission and you don't want to get distracted on other things while you're in activity or doing whatever it is that you're doing. But it's like a cloud which is always above your head.
Okay. So how did this loan make a difference to you?
You were able to breathe again, basically. It's just some one less thing to worry about, basically.
Yeah. And your wife, now you are not currently in reserves, is that correct?
Currently, no.
Okay, but you just don't know exactly when you could be called up again. So, how's your wife handling her business right now?
It's it's challenging because it's always hard to restart everything and get your clientele to get back to you and because you never know when you might be unavailable again and it's just really hard to keep the momentum going. We do what we can, um, but it's a constant struggle.
Yeah. Whoever is on the Zoom, we're happy to take any questions for Yoel, for Tomer, for Gil. In the meantime, I'll just continue asking questions. And my first question is for Yoel. When you joined this organization, did you expect that there would be this need for loans for reservists? Because, of course, the government is supposed to take care of the reservists, right?
That's totally right. I mean, I joined a year and a half before the war started. Um, and we were actually going towards different kinds of loans for people who are in deep debts, and challenging all kinds of other issues in the Israeli society. Starting the war, the first thing we did 3 weeks after the war began, still in I was still in the army. Um, is open a course for people for people in the south who were taken out of their houses, or struggling in their houses, for Ofakim and Sderot and all kinds of other places, who really felt the damage of their houses and their lives. And opening that, organizing ourselves towards what's going to be. I didn't even think at the beginning that the reservists have any other options. And once we saw that they have some solutions around, but not really in big scales, and this opportunity came to us to open the Yuval course. Um, so we found it as a great opportunity. I can just say that once, uh, like Gil, who's telling us the realism of a loan that you can breathe. Paying it back can make us give to another reservist and another one because that's a recycling of the money. So once we aim to open this to the reservist, all the funds that we got for this goal, it was amazing. It was really amazing, and we have all kinds of plans further on, going into financial guidance and helping out in other issues. But that will be in the future, coming months.
I really love the fact that you're not just providing money, which is, of course, necessary, but you're also providing education. And I'm so happy to learn that. As I said at the beginning of this program, I'm learning alongside everyone else about this organization. And I just want to try and understand a little more clearly the beginning of the fund. Tomer, you said that your family began the fund with some seed money. I would imagine that many diaspora Jews, not only Jews, but people from around the world. I know when October 7th happened, I received hundreds of emails asking me where they should donate, where people should donate. And I imagine that many people internationally are trying to find really useful places to put their money, especially after October 7th. And was a lot of the money that you raised from overseas?
So, yeah, initially it was actually like local. We published it in English and in Hebrew, but the most of it was like JGIF, like a basic crowdfunding source. But when it went and expanded, Ogen mainly went to the audience abroad, to the communities, the Jewish communities in different countries, and it just blew up from there.
Right. And Yoel, is there any kind of matching funding from the government or any other large body that you're working with that is matching the Jewish federations or a Jewish agency, any institutional Jewry like that?
Actually, no. We it's all the money, it's all donations for philanthropy from the diaspora, and like Thomas said, a lot from Israel. We're raising more. We're doing another campaign of raising more donations in order to expand because, like I said, the demands are going up and up. And the war isn't ended. We're still in war. So the usually what I know from years before, all kinds of um, army strikes, that the financial issues come after the war. And this is very different when it's during the war. We see all these financial issues. But the government started out with a few businesses to try and help businesses. They didn't go to the households. So they did a few things. I can say they did a few things in via the army, via the IDF, but not in the scale that we're looking at.
Right. I wanted to ask how many people are in Gil's situation because, of course, this is a reservist fund, but reservists are not living in a bubble. And in Gil's situation, as I mentioned, he is being paid from the army, but his partner, his wife's financial livelihood was utterly destroyed by this war. So, how many situations like that are you finding versus a small business owner who is a reservist?
So we can see in our details, in our data, that most of the families are looking for the regular expense to try and budget themselves to the regular expense and daily expense. Now, um, there are all kinds of different applications. Some of them are small businesses who really need the help of gaining up the business. Some are in debt issues, and some are regular expenses. There are some who want to improve their situation by buying a car because the wife can't drive from place to one place to another, and it's like a basic issue. I would say it's a very small fraction of our applications. Most of our applications are regular expenses, and we find we take care of the middle class lower because that's what Ogen is built to work with. Because people who are middle class higher, and I'm talking about around 70% of the society in Israel, middle class higher have other opportunities, financial opportunities, and wealth. So looking at the demands, and you talked about around 300,000 soldiers, reservists. We see, I mean, I've seen more than 10,000 applications until now. So, and like I said, it's growing. So I believe we can, first of all, we'll be smarter next year to see what happens with these loans and the families and the change we want to make. And second thing, I think we can widen the efforts of Ogen in order like to give guidance and to work with more families in order to give them loans.
I just want to, before we wrap up, emphasize something that I learned in this experience. So many people are taking out loans through credit cards or through banks, and the interest is really crippling. And what Ogen is doing here is it's giving them a lifeline, giving people a lifeline without them having to, I don't know, sell a kidney to pay off the loan afterwards. I'm kidding. People should never sell their kidneys. Please don't sell your kidneys. But Yoel, I mean, how is this business model even viable?
I think I can use what Tomer told us about Yuval. We should take off our ranks and be there for the families. That's all. That's what we want to do for the families. Doesn't we're not learning. We have no interest of gaining anything. We just want to make the situation, the social financial situation, much better now.
Yeah. Thank you, all three of you, for teaching me tonight. I've learned really a lot, and especially how Ogen can help reservists and their families, of course. And I urge you, our listeners, to take the lessons that we learned and make it an action point, whether by supporting the Yuval Loan Fund, there's a barcode on the screen, or spreading even just awareness of this issue. All of us can play a role. Let's continue to stand together, remembering not only Yuval, but also the soldiers still fighting to defend Israel and the hostages still held in Gaza. Their bravery and resilience inspires us, of course, and their families continue to endure unimaginable uncertainty and pain. So I thank everyone for being here tonight. I leave you with a wish for the safe return of all of our reservists and hostages, and for strength and peace for the families. Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.